Alrighty, what's up, Ringside Nation? The Ring Boys are back. Down one in the evening. Here with my beautiful co-host Doc. Doc, how we feeling?
We're feeling great, nice and energized. Got some sleep in. Get it going.
Love to hear
How
it.
you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. I'm gonna just get right into it. UFC 308. Oh boy, I've been waiting for this day my whole life. Great card overall. Topuria getting the win. My boy Khamzat getting the win. And yeah, we'll get right into it. Ilya Topuria proving he is a star-studded UFC fighter, being the first one to formally knock out Max Holloway. And you got to think, after a back-to-back resume of 2024 for Topuria taking out Volk to get the title, Max for his first title defense, legendary back-to-back run. And yeah, completely fraud checked, and he passed the vibe check. And overall, I think we have a new star on the UFC scene. So, Doc, let's get right into it. What are your thoughts on Ilya Topuria getting this KO?
Yeah, that was a really impressive performance. He backed up everything that he was saying. I didn't believe him when he faced Volk. I didn't believe him when he was facing Holloway. So really great performance. And a few things stood out to me. One, he absorbed a bunch of punishment. You know, in that first round, Max Holloway was keeping the distance, landed a bunch of really great shots, but Ilya Topuria took them. He used those leg kicks to get closer to Holloway. And I'm sure that affected the movement of Max Holloway, which is what allowed him to throw that nasty combination towards the end, where as soon as he saw that Holloway was hurt, he didn't let up, and eventually got the right hand through, got the left hand through, and put Max Holloway down for the second time in his career. First time was Justin Gaethje, but this one he just has so much power, and the commentators are saying they don't know where it's coming from. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's similar to Pereira when he lands with his technique, for some reason, that amount of power, it just puts people down. So it's exciting to see Topuria here. We haven't seen somebody hit this hard in the featherweight division since Conor McGregor, but Ilya Topuria is such a better fighter than someone like Conor McGregor. So it's interesting, like, how are people going to beat him? We haven't seen him taken to the ground and wrestle down there. Apparently he has really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So I want to see that. And I heard Aljamain Sterling says that he can take out Topuria. I don't know, but it's fun to watch. And at the end of the day, it seems like Topuria is actually a good guy. For as much as he talks smack to his opponents, he's able to back it up, and then he's really humble at the end. He threw a lot of props out to Max Holloway, which I appreciated. Max Holloway took this loss in stride. Sad to see. I thought that finally he was going to break through after so many years, but Ilya Topuria, he's the real deal. Good for him.
Doc, incredible analysis. Golf clap to you, good sir. Love to hear it. Then I'll bring it to our next topic of future for these fighters. You know, Topuria gets Volk into the ring, says, you know, you've done a lot for this company. We definitely got to run it back. And you see Diego Lopez on the out of the ring, like, can I have some? But I think definitely Diego has made a solid case for the title shot, but I think we definitely got to run that Volk rematch back with Topuria, see if that was the real deal, Holyfield. And then Max, what do you think's next for Max? I don't think we're gonna see him fight in the featherweight division quite possibly ever again at this point.
I don't know. I mean, I think that he does so well here, but yeah, he's just come up against some of the best featherweights ever. But Ilya Topuria has just beaten him. He's beaten Volk. And, you know, it's similar to in the lightweight division where Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, if they were in a different era without Khabib and Islam, they would have won the title. But Max Holloway had his time early on, and then the new era, as Ilya keeps on referring to, is here now. And I wasn't expecting Max Holloway. He's been hit by so many monsters in the past, but Ilya, I guess, is different. So I don't know what he's going to do next. If he goes up to light, I mean, he's not going to get through Islam at lightweight. So I don't know what the benefit is. He can go up there. He can fight well. He can get some wins. But as long as Islam is there, no one's taking the title from him. But Max Holloway, I think he keeps getting better. I'm just worried now. You know, now the chin has been cracked, and we know what happens once the chin gets cracked the first time. It's no longer the same. So we'll see where it goes. The other thing is, I forgot to mention, uh, is we were talking about this behind the scenes, but Jai Herbert back in the day could have completely changed the UFC.
One kick.
And Ilya Taporia was probably 3 seconds away from getting knocked out by a guy that's about to get kicked out of the UFC. So that's a moment that Jai Herbert will never forget, knowing that was his one chance, and because he wasn't able to capitalize, Ilya Taporia is now the featherweight champion, probably for a long time.
Yeah, Poirier said in an interview he's going to be the first guy to submit Islam. It's like, buddy, chill out. We got a couple title defenses to get under our belt here. I think what Max said in his press conference actually really stood out to me, and I think he's right. Like, boys, this isn't a funeral. Like, I'll be back. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, I think Dustin Poirier would be a great candidate. But unfortunately, I think, he's going to have to wait for a featherweight title shot again if he wants it. And I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him fight Diego. I don't know why he would do it. I would love to see that happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's a realistic fight that they're going to make, but I'd be all for it. So we'll have to wait and see. Definitely think Taporia and Volk are going to run that rematch back at some point next year, hopefully in Spain. Real Madrid Stadium is kind of hard to schedule and book, but we'll have to see what's in the cards for the featherweight division at the top. And I think Max hopefully is going to just move up to lightweight and try to make some noise, catch a couple checks, catch a couple highlights. Like he said, sometimes you are the highlight, sometimes you make the highlight, but that's just the way this industry goes.
One last thing, can't forget about Movzar. He's still around.
This is true. He's fighting
Aldo. He's not as exciting, but that would test Ilya Taporia's takedown D and all of that. So I don't know what Diego will do against Taporia. I mean, he's long, he's such a complete fighter too, but I thought Max Holloway would have the power here, but he doesn't. So Diego probably hits harder. But yeah, that would be an exciting fight to see as well.
Agreed. Well, Doc, you were wrong on the main event. You were wrong on the co-main event. I'll let you introduce this one. What did you think, Khamzat Chimaev?
It took long enough for Khamzat to get back into the ring, but he ended up destroying Robert Whittaker within a round. I was not expecting that. He destroyed Robert Whittaker's face. He took him down with no issues, and I mean that was one of the most impressive performances that he could have done. So well done for Khamzat Chimaev. He didn't look great on the scale, but by the time that it was time to fight, he did what he said that he's going to do to every single fighter, which is take him down, out wrestle them, and nobody can stop the wrestling except for Kamaru Usman. And yeah, good for Khamzat Chimaev here. This is a dangerous man. DDP better be scared. I agree. Khamzat needs to get the title shot. I know Sean Strickland is in the way there, but we want, if Khamzat Chimaev will be the biggest if ever in the UFC, given that he had that illness, he barely fights, but when he does show up, fights end within 5 minutes. And that seems to be with regardless of who's in front of him. So let's get him in there. Let's get him fighting DDP so that we don't have to wait another year for him to get in the ring. And props to him. Robert Whittaker, I feel so bad for him. He's been looking great recently, and like he had no answers here. He looked good in the ring for 10 seconds or whatever, and then Khamzat Chimaev got a hold of him, and that seems to be the end for everybody. Good for him. And good job picking him too.
Block of the century, boys. I've been on the Khamzat hype train. I'm not one of those people who's ignorant to the outside the ring antics with the illness. Obviously he didn't look so great on the scale, like you said. 3 minutes and 31 round to snap Robert Whittaker's jaw. This guy is going to be champion one day. And now you understand why he's my favorite fighter. Now you understand he's the real deal Holyfield. It's just a matter of time. I'm putting in my 2025 future Khamzat Chimaev middleweight championship future bet January 1st. I'm doing it. But yeah, like he said, he came, he saw, he conquered. All right, now I'll get off my hype train. I'll actually talk about it. But yeah, no, Khamzat, incredible performance. Basically split Robert Whitaker's jaw. Robert Whitaker tried to like downplay it. It was like, yeah, this happens to me often. I'm like, nowhere on the internet have you ever broken your jaw in a fight. You're not getting out of this, buddy. But yeah, like my whole read and my whole MO on it was everyone was tweeting, saying the thing about the, we texted behind the scenes doc, obviously. He didn't look great on the scale. He's been very quiet in interviews. Does he not have the aura? And I'm like, why is he being very stoic? And I'm listening to the interview and he's like, yeah, my son had his kidney surgery and now everything I do is to raise an example for him. And it's like, dude, he's a Russian Muslim. Like, that's the most disciplined religion and like the most like careless, like ethnicity. Like, why would you fight that guy? You know what I mean? And for him to remain stoic and all of that. And then when he started sprinting and nearly running through the cameraman like he was an offensive like tackle or a defensive tackle, I just knew. Like, I just sensed it. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm so happy that this Dagestani Gucci silk scarf parlay hit for me on the side. Made some units there. Incredibly happy. And yeah, I've been waiting all day to talk about that one, so it's good to get a load off the shoulder.
No, good for you. I mean, that was a really impressive performance by Khamzat. There's nothing else to say. He did what he says that he's going to do to every single person, and he's made us a believer that no matter who you put in front of him, he's going to do the same thing that he's done, because he keeps on doing it. He keeps on performing. He doesn't need to talk. He talks and he says exactly what he's going to do in a very calm manner. He's like, I'm going to get in the ring, I'm going to smash him, and that's it. And I'm going to get the belt. And okay, I agree, sir. I agree.
I just want to smash the guy, get paid, and go home. That's all he wants to do. Yeah. I smash guy, I get paid, I go home. That's it. It's as simple as that. If only it was that easy for all the other UFC fighters, huh? But yeah, moving along. Magomed Ankalaev, ringer for the Ring Boys. Doc, if you will, hit that bell for us for all getting right. This one worried me. Technicality, interesting fight. Wasn't a good one to sit when you have Magomed on your bet slip. But from the perspective of just looking at significant strike totals, looking at, leg kicks, looking at just control from the cage, like, big thing that stood out to me, 34-13 on leg kicks landed in favor of Rakic. Like, Magomed said he wasn't going to wrestle. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's what you're saying. Like, Topuria picked up Holloway and said that we're just going to duke it out. So I didn't think that, when people say that they're not going to wrestle, they always uphold it. When you're losing a fight, it's MMA, brother. You got to get it going. But yeah, this one worried me, Doc. I'm not going to lie. He did land a ton more strikes, and he did do slightly more damage, I guess. But Ankalaev just has this weird, like, southpaw stylistic aspect that you don't see on many fighters. Like, he's leading with the jab, but the left is coming, but you never know when it's coming, and it always just gets you. And it always just, you have to be at his range. And Rakic being the taller, lengthier fighter, it felt like Magomed was the bigger man the whole fight when you watch it. So, yeah, Magomed with a win. Dana White said behind the scenes that I guess now we have to put him up against Mahara, but he said this before. Same thing with Khamzat. It's like they promised me a title shot before. So I don't know. I don't know what's next for Magomed. I don't know what's next for Rakic. I just know this one didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I'm just glad we got out of there with the win in the green on the column. Doc.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it wasn't the most exciting fight, but Ankalaev deserved a title shot regardless. He hasn't lost in forever. So let's get him in there with Pereira. Let's see what he can do against him. Nobody else can handle Pereira at this point. So Ankalaev, if it was a 2-second shorter match against Paul Craig, he would be 19-0 or whatever. So 20-0. So he really hasn't lost in forever. He's from Dagestan. Dagestanis don't lose until maybe when they face the hardest hitting light heavyweight of all time. So let's get him in there. Let's see what the striking is like. Ankalaev has never been a very strong wrestler. The leg kicks have torn him apart in multiple fights, and Pereira has some of the strongest leg kicks. So in that fight, I mean, I'm not betting against Alex Pereira. So it's the fight to make, because otherwise Ankalaev is just never going to lose, and he's always going to be fighting the top 3 fighters, and that's a ridiculous thing for Dana to just ignore the fact that he's not giving this guy a title shot. Just do it once, and then after he loses, you can start having him wait another 5 years. But at this point, it's really a bad look, I think, for the company for not allowing this guy that hasn't lost in forever to not be able to fight for the title shot. That this discourages other fighters.
Agreed. And I think he's ready for the title shot. I think this should definitely be Alex Pereira's next fight. Hopefully in Brazil. That'd be sick. But yeah, Magomed Ankalaev. It was like Rakic with the leg injury. Like, I know he tore his ACL and whatnot, and he was on antibiotics, and that's why, like, you know, he wasn't himself in the first fight he took in the year, what be the case, if you will. But like, his kicks just didn't seem powerful. Like, yeah, you take 34 kicks to, you know, your lead leg, it's going to chip away at you, but it just never seemed powerful, and it didn't seem like his normal self. So I wonder if that ACL had to be in effect. I wonder if he just came back to the ring a little too early, but is what it is. Magomed got his hand raised, and the ring boys were right. I was wrong. Dan 50K Ige did not beat Lerone Murphy. When this fight started, the lines went up for Lerone Murphy to minus 380, and I didn't understand why. Lerone Murphy did very well in that fight, but Dan Ige, like, showed why he's legit. You know, the type of guy to take on a fight on 3-hour notice and actually give a guy a run for his money is someone you should be scared of whenever he has a full camp under his belt. So Lerone Murphy defending the O, but, you know, paid the cost, paid the toll, a lot of damage, and he was really tested. I think this was his toughest fight being in the UFC so far, and it was a good one. This would be like, I thought this could have been a co-main event, Doc. Like, I thought this one was a really good one. You know, if we didn't have Khamzat and Topuria and Max, whatnot, if this was the co-main on any pay-per-view, I wouldn't have been upset at all. How about you?
Yeah, I think Lerone Murphy just isn't a big enough name to get put up into that top spot. Like, even a fight night, like, I can't even imagine this headlining a fight night. People know Dan Ige, people don't really know Lerone Murphy, and that's, maybe they'll know him in the future. You know, that O will leave soon, I think, but it's nice to see him continuing to hold his own, even against tougher competition. And Dan Ige, being the company man he is, regardless of how many losses he's going to end up having in the UFC, you know, Dana will love this guy forever for that 3-hour fight notice that you mentioned. And good on him for showing up, landing some power. Just some of these top level fighters, they can absorb the hits, and then Dan Ige, that's when Dan Ige starts losing. You know, he has confidence against some of these worst fighters with getting the knockouts, but against people like Lerone Murphy, you know, he needed to do a little bit more. But great fight overall. Good to be on the main card, and both fighters will continue trucking along. Not too much loss for Dan Ige, in my opinion.
Agreed. Definitely protected his name on this one. I think I'm ready to see Lerone Murphy fight the loser of our previously mentioned bout in Aljo and Movsar. Let's throw him in the fire. This is what you get. Why not?
Take the 0.
Yeah, take the O off right now, or at least defend it and prove why you're a big name out of the UK. A big name that's part of the Ring Boys history, Shara Bullet Magomedov with the double spinning back fist KO. I know Max Holloway dumped Gaethje at 300 in the last second, and that was awesome. But man, this instantly top 3 KO of the year for me. Shara Bullet, man, losing that fight, in my opinion, if you will. And, you know, Petrosian just kept throwing kicks. It felt like he was just trying to get reads, and he just kept getting kicked away. And it's like, all right, buddy, like, if this is a 5-rounder and you just keep taking kicks, you're not going to have as much power and strength behind your shots. And I think Shara was just kind of saving it because he expected to grapple a bit more, because that's what everyone was getting a sense of. They were like, okay, Shara was actually tested in the grappling and wrestling a bit in his last fight. Maybe Armin's going to go and utilize that, but he just kept kicking away at him. And he paid the price, and Shara 50 G's performance of the night bonus, and proving Artie wrong with his Armin Petrosian pick. Doc?
Yeah. I think I've said it before. I'm not a huge fanboy for Shara Magomedov, but that was nice to see. That was, unorthodox style is the best way to describe Shara Magomedov. Typically, we see it with his kicks that come out of nowhere, but double back fist. Not many people have that in their repertoire. So cool to see. Again, I don't think Magomedov can match up against some of these top level strikers in the UFC unless if he develops something else. Likely because he only has one eye, so you can only do so much when you can't see stuff coming from one side. But hey, the Pirate lives on. He keeps his perfect record in the UFC, and this just goes on the highlight reel. And good for him. Calling out Adesanya, I don't know about that.
Dude,
What's up?
He's 14th, right? I was waiting for you to say it. I was just holding back laughter. 14th on the rankings now, and you call out number 2 Israel Adesanya, who doesn't know when he's going to fight again, is the craziest call out of the year to me. I was dying laughing. I was like, wait, play that back. Did he really just call out Adesanya in his broken English? I was so confused. I couldn't believe it.
He doesn't want Adesanya right
No.
now. Let me just put that out there. Shara Magomedov does not want Adesanya right now. UFC does not want Shara Magomedov against Adesanya because this ends the hype train right away.
Give him Paulo Costa after that kick that almost killed Robert Whittaker. Let's see him go against Costa first before you start calling out Adesanya. Yeah. Crazy call out. I love the hustle.
Maybe like a Marvin
Vittori. Yeah, that would also be a good one. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that's your main card. We'll do the famous prelim rifle off that I always do. Ibo Aslan, Dana White said, you're not getting 50 G's, but you won't be sad, or maybe you will. Getting taken care of. Jeff Hands of Neil Steele, sad to see RDA go down like that. Tore an ACL, tore something, just not great. Absolute banger of the fight of the night. Matthias Srebecki defeating Oral by bloody war. If you haven't watched this one, definitely go back and do so. Doc, you and I were talking about this behind the scenes. The orbital bone breaking was not a break. It was just soft tissue. Like, man, crazy beating to take there. We all got that one wrong, as well as Bruno Ferreira, Abus Magomedov getting the finish. And there were parts of the fight where I was like, okay, is Bruno just saving energy to let him tire himself out? Or is this really going this bad? Kennedy and Chekwu, Chris Barnett injuring himself before the fight even started, jumping. Hilarious if you know who Chris Barnett is. Sad to see, obviously, I think he lost his wife this year, so just happy for him to be back in the ring, getting a check. Hope to see Chris Barnett at least once next year. Not against someone who's in shape, like half his or double his size in terms of vertical and not horizontal. And yeah, it's not a great thing to watch there.
I'll say sorry before we continue. There was a bunch of commentary during the fight about the abdominal kicks that Njoku was throwing, and I think DC was like, I don't think that's hitting the abs. I was dying.
Oh man, it's like the bat hitting a watermelon comment from earlier this year. Farid Basharat showing why he's Farid Basharat. Hating Victor Hugo after that weird weight cut miss by 10 pounds. I wonder if we'll ever see Victor Hugo again if he loses once more. Ishmael Nardiev proving that he's a prospect in the UFC. Glad to have you back after your hiatus. Rinat Fakhretdinov, you didn't win that fight. You just didn't win that fight. You just didn't. I'm glad it hit for all of us and sprinkled some salt on the side for some bets, so I'm glad it was profitable, but you didn't win that fight. Carlos Vial got robbed, and that's your Ring Boys rifle off, as I'll like to call it now. And Doc, do you want to go back and touch up on any points of those fights that we just discussed?
I don't know which one to pick here, but Ibo Arslan, put on a striking clinic. I don't know if he missed a single punch that fight. I don't know what the stats will say, but such a pure striker fighting against a guy that was undefeated. So that was a really tremendous performance. Jeff Neal, I didn't realize how crisp that striking is. So good on him. I picked Dos Anjos because of his experience and the last few fights. I thought that he's been pretty impressive. But yeah, that leg gave out, but even without that leg giving out, I mean, he felt the power of Jeff Neal, and maybe this is like a little bit of a upswing in Jeff Neal's career. You know, for me, for a while, I feel like he's been pretty stagnant, but this was a impressive performance. So maybe had a really good camp. And then Bruno Ferreira, man, that second round, he was so close to getting Abus Magomedov out of there. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Bruce Buffer messed up a bit on the announcement and called him Abus Nurmagomedov.
Didn't catch that.
I heard that. The commentators didn't say anything. I'm pretty sure he said Abus Nurmagomedov. Close enough, I guess. But but still, that was a banger of a fight too.
Yeah, they should be calling him Khamzat Nurmagomedov next year. I'm telling you, he's the next coming. Minus 180 to be champion on December 31st, 2025. Khamzat Chimaev.
I would love to see Habib versus Khamzat. Just saying.
That'd be nuts.
Even if it's not in like the UFC, just like a little bit outside, just show us like 3 rounds of Khamzat versus Habib. And Habib, you know, he walks around at like 200 pounds or whatever. So like him fighting at middleweight or whatever, like it's not a big deal. But I mean, we haven't seen anybody test Habib in the wrestling department, and Khamzat seems to think that he might be able to, which would be wild. I'd pay for that.
I would too. But nonetheless, that's your UFC 308 breakdown. UFC 309, November 16th. Couple fight nights. Maybe not as many episodes from the Ring Boys due to scheduling this time of year. We'll keep you guys posted. And man, this card was a banger. I'm not going to forget this one. Us in October, Doc. We don't miss on bets. We don't miss on fights. You'll have to see it. Anything else before we sign off?
No, that's it. I've been pretty excited with how this year has gone with the UFC, especially these main cards. So this one lived up to the hype. Thank you.
And in the great words of Khamzat Chimaev, what now? Say something. He's back. That's all. Peace.